Paperless Movement, your productivity, your way.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another Productivity Like a Pro podcast episode here. I'm really excited. Today we have a Paperless Movement member with us, Marcel Rüttgers. He's from MR Consulting. He has his own consulting company. He's helping out freelancers and small businesses. And what this is all about and what he's helping there, he will tell you now by himself. Welcome, Marcel, to the show.
Yeah, hi, Tom and Paco. Thanks a lot for having me. I'm honored to be with you. Maybe a couple of words to introduce myself and what I do. So, you know that a lot of freelancers and small businesses, specifically people or companies without a marketing department, they struggle with, at some point, providing a really world-class customer journey. So that means from the first touch point in their journey from lead generation up until creating an automated referral system at the back end. There are points where they're losing business or their processes don't work. And that's where I come in, where I help them basically optimize every point of the customer journey so that they can wow their clients and also maximize their revenue by not putting out hundreds and hundreds of hours every week. And of course, for many, many freelancers, so to say, the first part in this journey is lead generation. But also a very important part is, that's where ICOR comes in, is the part, how can I get more done in a shorter period of time so that I can then decide, do I want to scale this business to like an agency model or whatsoever so that I can hire people and maximize my output? Or do I cap this and say, okay, this is just what I want to do. I want to serve, let's say, 4 clients a month. But with a framework like ICOR, I'm able to achieve that in a much shorter period of time. Now I have more time to pursue other things, like spend more time with my family, side project, or educate myself on something, go travel, whatever it is.
So what do you find most when you start working with your clients? What do they struggle most with? Because you talk about efficiency in this case, process optimization, so improving their efficiency, therefore they save time, therefore they can earn more money in with the time that they have over. So how do you approach this when you go into these sessions?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a couple of ways how you can see this, but I mean, it boiled down to its essence. It's just like the same way how you would do that with a single individual who's just trying to improve personal productivity. Yeah. There's similar things that apply. Of course, then if we're talking about team collaboration, that's an additional part that comes in, but it's basically, first of all, what I see over and over again, even if it's freelancers or small businesses in whatever it is, the service industry, manufacturer, retail, wherever, they have a lot of cluttered information everywhere. Yeah, so they work with one system here, then you have paper notes somewhere here, you had a meeting with a coworker that is noted there. There's no real red thread, and it's not put together in some sort of system where you can really decide, do I need that information? And then if you need it, processes it in the right way and put it in the action world if it's necessary. So my starting point is always, when I talk with potential clients, be it a single individual as a freelancer or a small company, is we do an audit, because it's basically tailor-made. So we do an audit, and then we talk about, okay, how's your process at the moment for lead generation? How is your process with your sales funnel, your top of the funnel throughout that all, and how's your process with your referral systems? That is the first part. But then after that, the operational part comes in, and that's where usually we talk about productivity. So because if you, for example, increase the pipeline and you sell a lot more, you're faced with new challenges. All of a sudden you have to serve maybe 8-9 clients instead of 3 or 4. So how do you do that in your existing setup with little to no automation, with maybe a G Drive here, with Google Sheets here, no existing CRM, maybe no project management system, and so on. So it's hard to keep track. You guys know this. That's what you preach also all the time in the Paperless Movement membership. If you do not have a coherent system, then it's really hard to optimize. And that's basically always the starting point. I talk to people to find out, okay, what is it exactly what they have at the moment? Where do they struggle? And then based on that, we start recommending implementation of certain tools and processes. But it's tool agnostic, just as with you guys also. So if I talk to somebody, especially for freelancers, Notion is very popular. Yeah, a lot of people use Notion. And I'm quite a fan. I believe that ClickUp, for example, is much better for project management purposes, but it depends on the use case. Yeah. So if they say, hey, I really want to keep this and integrate that into a system, then we talk about, okay, this is a system that could work for you. And we then adjust the existing tool that is there. If somebody has something that is really absolutely incredibly terrible, so for example, you use Google Sheets as a project management tool for running 12 different projects at the same time, then we also say, hey, I think you should really consider moving to, for example, ClickUp because of this and this and this reason. So it's not at the moment like a one size fits all or like a product. At the moment, it's a service that I'm tailoring to everyone individually. But I'm also at the moment looking into productizing this. For example, the starting point here would be for freelancers. So this should be, I do not want to build a product that is for freelancers and for small businesses at the same time. I want to keep that separate because both of them have different challenges. So we're starting with a basic product for freelancers there, and the productivity part is a part of that. But at the moment, it's a service tailored to every specific use case.
How
Yeah.
long does it take to provide your services, more or less, on average? I mean, how long do you stay with working with a client?
Usually, I serve about 3 to 4 clients a month, and it takes me about a week with a client. But then, for some clients, they're on retainers, so it depends. If we're implementing a whole client journey from start to finish, there with every little point, that can be a whole month. But if it's only, for example, let's say we help them with lead generation, and then we focus on, okay, what are you going to do when all these leads come in? Are your processes in order? And that's the second part. Then usually that's 1 week for the lead generation and another week for to put all the processes in place. But then the crucial part is, can they stick with the process? So normally what I do is, in my calendar, I have a 3 month follow-up appointment scheduled and a 6 month follow-up appointment. That is not even part of the proposal, so it's a bit like a cherry on top of the cake. I usually don't even tell them about that up front, and then
Now
Well,
everybody
now they
knows.
know. Now they
yeah,
know.
now it's not a secret anymore. So, but then I reach out and I say, hey, how's the system going? Do you need any additional help? So I provide this additional piece of value without charging for that, because that really also helps when giving additional value that people not expect has helped me tremendously in the past, also for creating referral systems and all of these things. Then
It would be interesting now to see with your consulting business, but this is not what you've done all your life, right? So
no,
you come from experience and you build a
yes.
consulting business out of this experience. What?
Yeah, what I did, I used to work in corporate for 20 years. I started right after I finished high school, and then in parallel to university, started working for a big furniture retail company from Sweden, blue and yellow, for around about 20 years. Worked in different countries for them. The last position was here in the Netherlands. And then during COVID, I decided to start my own business. That's always what I wanted to do, because also my parents were small business owners. And that's why I focus really on freelancers and small businesses, because if I work with them as my clients, what drives me is also that I can see results and success rather immediately or in a very short term. You can really feel like as if you're doing something meaningful, and you can see the results. What I was struggling with in corporate was, next to all these very stagnant and bureaucratic processes sometimes, not to say that that company was like that, is an amazing company, but still corporate is different there, is that, yeah, you couldn't really see the fruits of your work, the results of your work. You couldn't really see that. And that is very different with small businesses or freelancers. That gives me a lot of motivation. And also I believe that they are able to create there's a lot of people that could give more value if they only have the opportunity to. So yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
decided to start working with small businesses and freelancers.
Well, that's amazing. I can 100% relate to this as well, as I'm coming
Yeah.
from corporate, and that was one of the reasons to double down on the paperless movement as well. Understand this? Now, the question would be, as you have all this experience and you're already doing consulting and process optimization, what brought you to the paperless movement and go through ICOR and actually
Yeah.
telling us that you liked our process? So how have we
Well,
been able to even help you?
Well, you've been able to help me tremendously. So thank you for that to start with. Well, I mean, I've always been right. I would always consider myself to be productive. Also during my corporate days, the output was always there, but it wasn't always in the most structured way. That's why I also said, okay, this is something I really want to tackle, because I have been through this myself, and I've found techniques, tactics, strategies, and whatever to overcome this, and also a lot due to the help that you guys provided. So, I mean, it all started with basically I used to just write down everything in my notebook, pen and paper. Then I moved through different productivity systems. I started GTD back in the days when you didn't have a smartphone and you had to use a palm or something like that. I'm sure you remember these days as
Yeah,
well.
for sure, for sure. I can relate to that a lot.
Yeah. And then you had to plug them in to sync to your Outlook and all of these things, I mean, I think worth mentioning that the GTD, when I stumbled upon that, David Allen's book, and then the whole methodology, that was the first eye opener for me, where we really created a system, and it worked for me. And I mean, if you look at a lot of productivity tools nowadays, they're still built according to a GTD methodology. And I do believe if you have let's say, a limited scope, that still works quite well. And I still find myself sometimes working with that. But so I think it's something you can build on. And then I really tried every productivity methodology whatsoever out there. But I had the problem that I was going back and forth between systems, never really stuck with one system. I tried something for 3 months. It was okay. It was working, but it wasn't really that I felt, okay, now this really, the coin has flipped. That really works for me. I went back and forth also between paper and electronics. I read how was it called, the bullet journal method, I think, or so, a couple of years ago. That resonated with me, because what I like about this idea is sometimes I really want to be away from the screen, be it a phone screen or whatsoever, any type of screen. And I actually found myself in the last couple of weeks writing more down on paper again, but with the difference that now I can integrate it into a workflow. I'm coming to that in a second, but so nothing bad about paper. But so I was going back and forth between paperless and paper, not really syncing anything. And then, I mean, you know the struggle. You look for something and you're like, oh my God, where did I write this down? In one of my 500 apps on my phone, or was it on paper, or where was it? So it wasn't really coherent. Then I stumbled what's it called, the second brain here, Tiago Forte, and I really liked reading the book. I think he also had good points in some ways, but then I really liked your analogy that I heard a couple of times from you also. We have one brain with two parts, not two brains. And what I was always missing was a bit there, or maybe I didn't get it, but for me it wasn't clear, the connection between the information world and the action world, and how to get that all together. And then, coming from this corporate background, I then discovered the paperless movement, and it really resonated with me that you said this is for busy professionals, yeah, not only for like knowledge workers, researchers, or whatsoever. It's for busy professionals. And then I became a member. I saw your courses, really resonated with me. It's concepts that are really easy to grasp. It's, let's say, implementation is simple but not easy. That means that you have to be disciplined in the beginning to put it all together. But it's very coherent, and the main point why I like it so much is that I always know where to put something. So I have a use case for everything that I have, and it's tool agnostic. If one app disappears tomorrow, I know I can replace that with another one and just use the same workflow. And also that you have this action and information world. And in my case, because I am self-employed, a lot of the things like the business management, knowledge management, and personal knowledge management blends into each other, because it's not separate. But this was one of the points that really resonated with me, because I also said that, yes, I work with small businesses and freelancers, but a lot of these things that busy professionals, let's say bigger corporations, face, they've also faced, and they could really learn something from standardized procedures, SOPs, and all of that have been created in the corporate world. So yeah, long story short, I tried a lot of different productivity systems. Then I came to the paperless movement, and that was the first one that I really stuck with and felt that made me in the long term more productive.
Well, that's awesome to hear. Thank you very much for explaining your journey there and going through the ICOR journey. And as you resonated so much, and we had a talk with you already about this, you became also an ICOR expert. So we have very
Mhm.
few verified ICOR experts. So this means when you're doing your consulting, that people know you, when you're an ICOR expert, that you are aligned with the ICOR principles. So you are
Mhm.
able now to roll out these tool agnostic approaches as well with your
Yeah.
clients as well. Obviously, you're not working for us. You're not,
No.
we are not receiving any money or anything like that. But the thing is that it makes it much easier to follow the processes to improve the process for your clients. And we are happy that we are part of this journey for you.
Yeah, in my case, Marcel, I'd like to ask you something because, well, and since the moment that you joined the
Mhm.
membership, you start interacting inside the community with the different busy professionals that are in there. And something that really resonated with me was because we are always trying to find out the differentiation between the before and after, when people come here and then how they evolve and they change their mindset and well, their processes, workflow, and I think the approach to those two different worlds, okay,
Mhm.
information and action, because I think that one of the main problem is that I think that nobody, I can say at least, explains so clearly the differentiation between those two worlds. And they are all the systems that are out there, methodologies or whatever, they talk about this both worlds simultaneously, they merge, and there are a lot of blurry things there, and then it's
Mhm.
when people get confused, I think. And as I love outliners, and I joined Tana since the first day, and you did exactly the same. And I can remember an entry that you made in the community where you say that the approach to Tana had
Mhm.
totally changed after going through the ICOR journey. Could you please explain that experience and what was your approach before ICOR and what was your approach talking about Tana after going through the ICOR journey?
Well, the when Tana was released, I was on the waiting list, and I was on the waiting list for quite a while, and then I got really excited when it launched. I think they did a great job with the UX. It looks really good, and that's a very important point for me in any app I'm using. If the UX and the UI doesn't match, I really have too much friction in using it. So that's just in the beginning. I think when I started using Tana, I wanted to use it for everything. Yeah, I wanted to basically replace Notion with Tana and squeeze everything in there and use it as a task manager, write notes, writing tool for everything. But that didn't really work for two reasons. A is that I was really overwhelmed because there wasn't really that much information. There was like a couple of videos from the founder that explained how to use it, but I was sitting there and I was feeling really dumb. I thought like, oh my god, you need a PhD to understand this, and then here that's a super note,
Well,
that's a
the
super.
thing is, I got a PhD and I didn't get it either.
Okay, good. We're in the
So that
same
doesn't
boat.
help at all.
Okay.
Another
No, but
example where a title doesn't help you out.
yeah, no, that it was a huge learning for me. It was a huge learning for me because it was like I really wanted to like the product, and I really let me say this: I really like the product because I don't use it actively in my current workflows. I still have the product on my Mac. It's there when I need it, and I'm following the company very closely because what they're trying to do with the computer models and how they built this product, I think, is really amazing. And they're adding a lot of new features also now. But this tool has such a steep learning curve. So that was one thing that basically where I was at the beginning like, okay, I'm not going to spend that much time on actually learning this tool because I can also do what I have to do with other tools and actually focus on the work that I want to get done. Because that's also where so many people on Obsidian get lost. They spend like a whole day on designing Obsidian how they want, but then in the end you're sitting there and like, okay, how much actual work did you actually get done? And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that's not for me because I have other stuff that I have to get done. So that was a bit the reason. Okay, I would put that on the sidelines, but then I came back to Tana, and with ICOR in mind, I had a better understanding of what it is and what it's not. So, for example, when you look at the shallow thinking, and I have an idea and I want to use it as an outliner and jot down thoughts, it was amazing. Like, really state of the art. They have a good AI integration also. So, I used it for a specific workflow, and I'm looking forward to keeping that in mind and seeing, okay, how can I even integrate that further into my workflow? For example, what I use it for at the moment is, since they allow to have public pages,
Yeah.
you can really public a page if I make a guideline for a client or so, and I just have it in a note, and it looks really beautiful. Yeah, so that's a use case that I think of. But what ICOR taught me basically is I don't have to press myself into an app if it doesn't fit my workflow. Yeah, I can take the workflow that I have, the tool agnostic approach, and then see, okay, this app, they actually fit better. So for example, I use reflect notes now for the use case, and that's, to me, it's fantastic, because I just open it, start writing, and I don't have to worry about anything. There's no learning curve with this. It's super easy to handle. So for me, in my specific use case, that's the best. But yeah, that's what ICO taught me. Also, not only related to Tana, but also for other tools. It's like, don't make it just about the tool. See how you want to work, and then basically pick the ones that fit that workflow best.
Exactly. So that's a perfect use case there. Thanks for sharing. And well, you like Reflect so much that you actually made a mini course that our members can watch inside the membership. So you have your own area there as an ICO expert, and there's the course about Reflect and how you use
Yeah.
Reflect. So for anybody who wants to check this out, you're welcome to join us and check out this mini course. But this being said, getting back to the Tana, also still in this boat where I'm using Heptabase and Tana, and I know that Paco is using heavily a specific workflow with Tana and Heptabase and Reader, and Tana is his beloved outliner, and he leverages all the functionalities in there. But I see it the same way. When I went to Tana, I thought it's an overkill for what I want to achieve in there, and it's then too restrictive for what I want to do. So, for example, long form text and having headers and writing something
Mhm.
is not possible
Yeah,
in
no
Tana.
markdown. Yeah.
But building databases is amazing. Yeah, using the super tags and the flexibility that you have there. But you mentioned this steep learning curve. And with all the things that we have on our plate and all the courses, building and so on, I was looking for a relaxing mode as well. Taco, Paco,
Well, I eat
Paco, my
a
little
lot.
taco. Paco is using Tana since day one, and he grew with each update and everything. So that's a different point
Yeah.
than somebody coming into Tana. You have to watch a course or something to really wrap
Yeah.
your head. As you mentioned, if you go to the website, it's not easy. They're now bringing out updates where they try to improve this onboarding. But I still think if you try to go through super tags and then inherit other tags, it's never really clear what really happens, what you do
Yeah.
there. And you can break things very easily. So I can really relate to this reflect because it's amazing. As you say, it is very simple. And that's the feeling that I have when I go to Heptabase. So I
Mhm.
rather have now the, well, let's call it friction, that I bring in my shallow thinking into Heptabase. Also, they have, well, there's no way to capture at all when it comes to mobile or anything like that.
Mhm.
You can create new cards, but there's no sharing. So this gives me a lot of friction. Then also to getting the information back when I need it in a shallow thinking system like Reader. This is amazing where you
Mhm.
then go through your shallow stuff. That's something where I really see Heptabase is for deep thinking. That's it. So mem, we killed mem. So for me, this
Yeah.
was really the ultimate kill because this was my shallow thinking system and I used it on a daily basis. And the AI was just good enough to emerge the things that I was looking for, but I still had a subtle thing of structure, not much, but there was enough structure to organize your
Yeah.
nodes. And now there's just a search bar and AI
Yeah.
does everything. That's killed it. So reflect. I'm really always attracted to reflect more and more. And now I'm seeing your course. So we
Yeah.
are really checking out all these alternatives as well. But what do you think about this as well? You've been using Heptabase as well, you mentioned, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and Heptabase, well, I started using that right after I saw your YouTube video, of course. So I think there were two ultimate kill videos in a row. One was, well, lazy, and I got really excited about lazy.
We still have
I,
no access to
me
Lazy, so we
neither. Me
cannot
neither.
say
I'm still on the
anything.
wait list, but you don't even get an update or anything. It's just like, okay, is this ever going to happen? But it looks so good. I mean, this teaser video that they made is really really fantastic. But anyway, then I saw Heptabase. Heptabase, I think the team how they develop is amazing. For my specific use case, they're not 100% there yet. I use it, but I don't use it as often as I thought I would use it, because I'm more like, even when I go into deep thinking, I'm more of a type to write everything out. I do not do that much of mind mapping or something, but I can see that is already beneficial for me, because I did, when I was thinking about some structures for future products and everything, I did that in Heptabase and I could see the benefits. I think one point where that could really tip this over is when they integrate the AI in a really nice way into the app. They had, when I started using it, they had this AI assistant, and now I think they killed it, because when I log into the app, the AI assistant is no longer there. But I do believe they're working on some sort of AI integration there. But if they would pull off something similar to Reflect Notes there, I think that would be fantastic, because that's one of the things about Reflect Notes is I write something and then I just mark all the text. They have a GPT-4 integration naturally, and then I can improve my text. I can reformat the text. I can automatically backlink the text, so I don't have to do that on my own and think about, did I forget the backlink now? I can make a tweet out of that. I can do all sorts of that. I can even do research with it. And so there's so many things that you can do with the AI and Reflect with just one or two clicks. And if Heptabase is able to implement something similar to that, I think that would be really next level for them. I think they made a great step now with the tasks that they have in there, and the inbox would be amazing. But I think you guys already were pushing for this also. Because
I published a video about this as well already, and I
yeah,
think this is where we really see that the perspectives shift. Right, we are busy professionals, and we use Heptabase in a different way than probably the developers themselves, as they are more
yeah,
knowledge workers, and then the biggest community are students and knowledge workers. That's
mm,
what we see there, especially when you look at the releases and the focus. So we are happy about the task thing, but the inbox, as you
mm,
know, as a Paperless Movement member, inbox is such an essential thing. But this being
yeah,
said, Paco, I think you can say something about the difference between using Tana and Heptabase, because Marcel mentioned something interesting there as well, that he's more text based and then
mm.
he organizes the things. And I know that Paco does equal workflows, right? You have a specific tool for a specific use case.
Yeah, because, well, I'd like to say before going deep into that topic is that first, I think that the background of every person has a deep impact into the tools that you end up using. For me, as a computer science engineer, for me, an outliner is something that really resonates with me. It's a way of just throwing ideas to create the initial backbone of something. Okay, that's for me what an outliner is. That's why, well, I fell in love with workflowing, and I was using it for, well, I don't know, quite a long time, okay? Because some people say that we are constantly switching tools and things like that, and that's not true, okay? The other day, I don't know why, but the other day someone refers to one password or something like that, and I say, well, man, I went, and I think it was 2015 when I started using one password. So you can imagine 8 years. With Evernote, I spent 10 years. Well, I don't know, some people think that they should stay with the same tool for 20 years. That's not my approach, okay? Because I think
No,
that there are a lot of tools emerging every day. And
yeah,
because of that, I think that the background is one thing. And the other thing is your day to day work. I mean, because I end up going back, because, for instance, I tried to kill, whenever we went into Heptabase, I tried to kill the workflow and Tana at that moment, because I switched to Tana, because for me it's like, well, the other day Winkle said that it was the calendar on steroids or something like that. Well, I think that Tana is the workflow on steroids, okay, because they make an amazing move that it's going into the database world in a way that for me it's pretty intuitive, okay, because at the end it's what I've been doing all my life. So for me, creating a database relational model, it's something that it's pretty easy, pretty obvious. And the outlining also because I have been working, and for me, that I have a lot of meetings, ideas that I think things that I need to write down, and I want to go deep into a certain idea, then move backwards, and all that thing inside Heptabase is something that I cannot do. Okay, no matter that they have bullets and that thing, but the point is, and I will write an article about that concept, that sometimes a bullet helps you a lot. Okay, the concept of outlining, because when I
Mm.
want to just throw certain ideas and move them up and down, go a little bit deeper into one of them and things like that, a bullet helps you. But the moment that you really want to go and express yourself, you need freedom, and the bullet then becomes an obstacle.
Yeah.
And that's the moment that I move into Heptabase. Okay, I move there and I have all the space that I need to really express, because there are things, moments that you need to express with, I don't know, with conjunctions. You want a paragraph, a bullet, it's an
Mm.
obstacle that it's on your way, and you lose the momentum, okay, of your brain process. And that's the moment that I move. When I see that the bullet becomes an obstacle, that comes out naturally, okay, without forcing the thing, because that's something also important. We don't need to interact with a tool with friction, okay? Because
Yes.
there are
Yeah.
people that are constantly, there are a lot of people that say that Tana is amazing, and they keep fighting and suffering. But man, what the heck? A tool is to help you to enhance
Yeah.
your process,
Yeah.
to be faster, better, to improve your quality, your performance. That's, if a tool is an obstacle or a pain in the ass, forget about it, man. Tana is not paying to you at all, no matter that there are thousands of people using it out there. Okay, and for me, that's second nature. And also the moment that when I go through an outliner, because for me, the point about an outliner is that it's pretty fast. Okay, I cannot
Mm.
fast with a visual thinking tool, okay, moving things. For me, at that moment, I have thought about 10 ideas and I have just represented in the tool 2 of them, and I'm still moving the arrows and things like that. So at that moment, for me, so what do? I keep forcing the outlining experience until I see that it's a mess, man, that I'm mixing things. Now ideas belong to 3 or 4 elements. And then I say,
Mm.
wait, I step back, go to the visual. So there are millions of use cases. And then it's really difficult to find out a workflow that perfectly fits. For instance, the other day I was preparing an important meeting and I said, well, man, for this, I want to see something visual that I can interact with different colors also. That helps a lot, okay? And I create like big areas that I want to express or go deeper. And the beautiful thing about Heptabase is that whenever I see the big box, I can go there and start
Mm.
creating text and developing that idea freely, and even using bullets if I want to create a certain structure. And I think that balance in Heptabase is amazing. But that's totally different. And I think that most of busy professionals are not into the deep thinking thing. Okay. They are
Yeah.
just a part. I think that's the Pareto principle, okay, of 80-20, where the 80% of their time is about shallow thinking, man. Is I just want to write something down. It was an idea, random, a meeting, I don't know, that type of thing. No, that website that
Mm.
I love or that resonated with me, this email, I don't know, this chat, this conversation in WhatsApp, I don't know. And that's where the mess begins, because the point is, what do I do? How do I capture that? How can I retrieve? How? Because you feel like that you are missing opportunities. And I think that feeling, no, the famous FOMO, but it's something, it's real. The key element and the key differentiation is distinguishing in the shallow thinking between that subtlety. And again, subtleties are what matters. When you see that the shallow thinking, there are moments that, yes, sometimes I have a random thought, but sometimes it's not a random thought. It's something that I have perfectly structured, maybe just 2 or 3 points, but they have a sequential, an organization, a hierarchy, whatever. And there is where we are right now fighting and pretty close to find out a workflow that we consider that, especially for busy professionals, will be pretty useful, because I think that most of the people are fighting on a daily basis with the same use cases that we are dealing with. And I think that's the beauty of being, into this market niche called busy professionals, because more or less we are facing the same scenarios on a daily basis.
Yeah.
About your clients, I have a question as well. So when you have these clients, do you talk only about the specific marketing tools besides now you should use ClickUp maybe as a project manager, or do you give general productivity advice there as well? Because everything links back to being more efficient. For example, where do I write down my meeting notes with my client, right? So that's
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I usually first try to talk about, and that's something I learned from you guys specifically also. I really try to talk about workflows and processes first, yeah, and putting together a system in place. And then there are at some points then also product recommendations, yeah, for like you should use this tool or this tool. Or for example, if something is really, really easy, somebody's just starting out, they are maybe a solopreneur or they're only with one or two people. They want basic knowledge management system where they can put some wikis in and also a little bit of product functionality. Notion is a good alternative. Yeah, they don't have to move to something paid right away. And then that's really, I don't try to sell them something and cash in the affiliate commission then, because I do believe that I believe in long-term partnerships, and I think you should do what's best for your client. Then good things will come to you. So then I'm totally fine with recommending that. And because I think it's really important, what Paco said earlier is that you have to look at, okay, what fits the situation. Like if you have a busy professional and 80% of what they do is shallow thinking, or it also, you can even distinguish in there between, okay, somebody's a manager. So there's a lot more focus on team collaboration, taking notes, projects and stuff like that, rather than maybe a specialist or someone that has to develop something or works with a product or so. So there you even might need different tools again. But normally for the companies that I work with, we're talking about either freelancer on their own. So then it's rather simple to put these together. I say, hey, you should think about PKM, note taking, task project management. Basically, use a similar framework to what you guys are recommending there. And then it's about, okay, there's a couple of tools here that would fit this category, this and this, according to your budget. If somebody has a small budget, this could work. Reflect Notes, if you compare it to Obsidian is free. Reflect Notes, they just took away, for example, the monthly plan, I believe, and you have to pay 110 per year or so, I believe it was. So there's quite a difference. So it also depends on, do I want to spend money on this, yes or no? And then if I look at small teams, then we go through process start to finish. Usually one thing I do is recommend a certain CRM system, and then going through the process. If they work, for example, if they have a project management system, like if Monday is already there, Monday.com as an example, and the only reason why it doesn't work is because they do not work with the system in the correct way, then I'm not trying to force them into ClickUp or whatsoever. Just say, hey, Monday is also a good tool. Use it, implement these and these workflows in there. But if there's nothing, I usually default to ClickUp because it's a very universally applicable system. You can tailor it to your needs really easily. Some people might need a bit of guidance on it, but that really depends on who I'm talking to. But over a couple of months or years, you get quite a good feeling when you talk to somebody in an onboarding call or introduction call. I believe this is what they would need. I believe this is good for their use case. So it becomes more and more crystal clear. And especially if you have a framework like ICOR, which I can think of internally for myself, then I can really give the right recommendations based on that. Because it doesn't only work for, let's say, busy professionals in a corporate setting. It also works for people in a small business environment. It works for freelancers. I mean, I'm a freelancer. I work by myself the whole day. By default, I wanted to do that. I didn't want to rely on anybody else. I sometimes work with virtual assistants or with partners or so, but mainly by myself. And I implemented that for me, and it works really, really well. It gives me so much clarity. And I built certain routines around that system. So, for example, this morning routine, I don't have an elaborate Andre Huberman like morning routine where I get up at 4 o'clock and then I meditate for 3 hours. Then I run 5 times around the block before I have breakfast and do cold exposure.
A good point about that is at 7 o'clock you are done. Okay.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's
Exactly.
good.
No, I get up and then I try to do some like stretching and all of these things to get my body out of bed and get up and running and everything. But then what I do is I open my laptop and I open Reflect. I use Reflect for that, but you can use any other app. And I basically brain dump everything in there. I write down everything that I have on my mind, and I have my weekly planning done. So my basic structure for my calendar is done. I make sure all the tasks that have to be done in the day are in the calendar, because I think that's also a quote from you. Your to-do list is infinite, but your calendar is finite. So you have to make sure everything is on there. And then everyone has this. You write down things and random thoughts, things you just thought about, and then you feel like, okay, this is something I really have to do today. So I put it in the calendar. Or anxieties I have that are on my mind. If you externalize that, write it out, you can work with it. And that's why I love Reflect so much. Once I did that, I mark the text, let AI improve my writing and take out the key, crystallize it in some key takeaways, and then I see are there some action points I have to take action on, and then I put them further through my workflows into task management or whatsoever. But that helps me get started with the day with a clear head, and I know exactly what I have to do. And it's also something, it's a bit like scheduled worry time, where in the morning, even everything that worries me or that is on my mind, I can compress that into this time, write it out, put it in there. And then afterwards, I can focus on something else again, because I know the next day I have a time window again where I can focus on that stuff. So it doesn't have to be on my mind all the time. And I think that fits really well into the ICOR framework, and no matter which tool you're using for this, but that helped me tremendously.
Well, that's amazing. I think we could go on for hours here, because another abbreviation dropped here, CRM, that I would be really interested in to learn more about what CRMs you actually recommend, and then have a whole other discussion about this.
Maybe we have to
But
do a
we need
second round
to do this.
at some point.
We will do this in a second round. Well, if people want to meet you, they meet you obviously in the Paperless Movement membership, as you are in there as well.
Yes.
People will also see your ICOR framework and the tools that you use in your business for yourself. But where else can they meet? No need to sign up to meet you, right?
No, you can always find me on marcelrutgers.com. Maybe we can drop that link in the link below. And then also I'm very active on X, formerly known as Twitter. So that's my main channel. I'm also on LinkedIn, but I'm not that active on LinkedIn. I'm more active on Twitter. I really like that medium because you can express yourself now in threads, in short form tweets, in long form posts. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on, also a lot of crap, but that's where I grow basically also an audience. So I express also a lot of things that I'm thinking about, concepts, ideas, concrete workflows, sometimes also templates I'm using, and all of these things. So either on the website or on X is the best way to reach me.
And what's the handle on X?
That is Rutgers, Ruttgers 83.
All right. So
Without
just
the E.
U.
So that's the website is Marcel Rutgers, Ruttgers. On Twitter, it's Rutgers, so Ruttgers 83. Reason for that is because I'm German. My last name is Rutgers with an Ü, so with an umlaut on top. And sometimes there's a bit of a mix-up in English. You can write it either just with a U or with an UE. So I know that's not ideal. That's it for now.
Well, in the same boat yet again, as
Yeah.
Rödel is exactly the same. Marcel, thank you very much for this amazing
Thanks a lot
session.
for having me.
And there will be definitely a follow-up. So if you want to meet Marcel again in this podcast, make sure to follow, and we'll catch you up next time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.